How about Clemson falling to Miami? And boy, you talk about troubling times in Tiger Town. And also, let me say this, by the way, because I saw some commentary over the weekend that you can't talk about this because Carolina's 2-5. Why don't you worry about guys? I'm not a coach. I'm not a player. I can worry about whatever I want to worry about. And I can talk about whatever I want to talk about. And I don't just talk Gamecocks. We talk SEC. We'll talk notable college football storylines if they demand it. And this is a storyline that demands it because Clemson football is unraveling at the seams. That's like the only thing that Gamecock Nation is taking solace in this 2023 football season. Like football in the Palmetto State, trash this year. Like both sides, just trash. Pure trash. And I mean, when you look at Clemson, and we've given Shane Beamer a lot of grief, right, for things he said in press conferences and comments he's made and antics and what have you. But Dabo Swinney, let's first address this. Dabo Swinney, after the loss, making the comment when asked about, do you guys have a sports psychologist? And he says, yeah, we have one. We have one. He's probably on suicide watch right now. In the year of our Lord 2023, my friend. And he said on his teleconference last night that it was a poor attempt at humor. It was a poor attempt at a joke. My friend, it is 2023. You cannot joke about mental health. You cannot joke about things like that. It's at times I feel like Shane Beamer and Dabo Swinney are like secretly texting each other in a contest of like, hey, who can say the more ridiculous thing this week? Like, truly, that's the way it looks. Then you got Cade Klubnik going on record after the game saying that, you know, the play that was called in overtime, it was a straight handoff, but I just kept it anyways. How is that guy your starting quarterback? How? How is that guy taking the field in the next game as your starting quarterback when you got an OC in Garrett Riley, you're paying what, over $1 million? He calls a play and the quarterback doesn't run it, just refuses to run it. Certainly no one here is shedding tears over what Clemson football has become and what it's becoming this season. But I mean, it's fascinating looking too far ahead, about a month from now, right? It'll be game week. And we'll be talking about Carolina, Clemson, the rivalry, what happened. Like, it is going to be it's going to be such a fascinating South Carolina Clemson game. Like, it's going to have the feeling and the vibe of the South Carolina Clemson rivalry, like when I first became a fan back in end of 2002, beginning of 2003, where it's like neither team is good enough to make a national difference. And so it's a pair of like mediocre, middle of the pack, 5 or 6 win teams battling to go to a bowl game. Like that's what it's going to come down to. So the drop off for Clemson, I mean, it's number one, it's beautiful to see, right? But it's almost hard to fathom. It's hard to fathom how far Clemson football has fallen. And then the comments from Dabo, I mean, just if having no feel was a person, it would be Dabo Swinney. Just no feel whatsoever. And like I said, it feels as if at this point, Dabo Swinney and Shane Beamer are in cahoots, and they've got a bet going on. Like, okay, who can garner more national media attention this week for saying something outrageous? I mean, it's the only way I can explain it. Because every presser, every post, these two guys are just trying to one-up each other, it seems, with the comments. I don't know. Anyway, so the SEC guys as a whole, national college football landscape, obviously, guys, Ohio State beating Penn State, I think, was the big takeaway. Ohio State looked dominant. They're my national championship pick, by the way. The defense, incredible. Our good friend J.D. Pickell was actually at that game, as was most, I guess, of the college football world. But back to the SEC. Arkansas falls to Mississippi State 7-3. I mean, Sam Pittman did, I think, what he had to do, right? And you think about it, guys, you lose 7-3 to Mississippi State. This is a state team that did not have Will Rogers. And credit Mike Wright, by the way. Credit Mike Wright for stepping in, being a steady hand, playing well, good enough, right? 8 for 12 for 85 yards passing, but he was their leading ball carrier, 11 for 60 yards, 5.5 yards per carry. Woody Marks, only 2.5 yards per carry, 17 for 42. But when you watched Arkansas, we talked about it all week. Game they have to win, right? This wasn't a game necessarily, at the top of anyone's radar, and I think the play on the field showed why. But it was a game for Sam Pittman and the Arkansas program they had to win. And listen, it's easy to sit here from afar and say, come on, Arkansas fans, just buckle in with Sam Pittman and hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and it'll all be fine because he's a hog at heart. Bro, winning and losing a game like this trumps all that nonsense I just said. There's nothing bigger than winning and losing. And so after losing a game like that, the way in which you did, Sam Pittman did all he could do, which was fire Dan Enos. The decision to hire Dan Enos was questionable, right? The transition from what Kendall Briles was doing to this more pro-style type of attack, more of a balanced type attack. Could KJ Jefferson run it? The answer was a resounding no. And it's a shame because I tell you, we talk about how Marcus Satterfield ruined Spencer Rattler. Dan Enos ruined KJ Jefferson. Ruined him. And so Arkansas now going into bye week, they'll look to implement new things on the offensive scheme, change things up. They got a massive, massive stretch of games incoming. Because I said it Saturday, I thought the Sam Pittman era should be over. I think it will be over. Based off what I've seen, based off Hog folks that I've talked to, it's sounding like there's still a glimmer of hope that maybe now with the firing of Dan Enos, they turn it around. It's one of those things, right, guys? I mean, hey, there's nothing better for a head coach to have than a good excuse. Every head coach needs a good excuse, right? And so firing your OC is that excuse, is that scapegoat, right? Well, he sucked. That's why we sucked. He sucked. What a convenience. He sucked. So I don't know, man. I just – do I think Arkansas, their best bets to lock in with Pittman? Probably so. Same reason that I think it's in the best interest for South Carolina to lock in with Shane Beamer. But similar to South Carolina, I think one of the great reasons is when you look at Arkansas, it's like, I mean, you're a program that doesn't have a lot of great history and tradition anyways, right? There isn't an expectation of winning 10 games a year. It's not like Arkansas's got some proud history and tradition they're trying to uphold and they're trying to win national titles. And I don't say that disrespectfully, but it was a mess when he took over. It was a mess. And I just don't know who you're going to get at Arkansas that's going to be a better fit for your school than Sam Pittman is. Now, with that being said, guys, I'm kind of coming to the realization myself that, because we've had this conversation, how long should a coach get in the transfer portal and NIL era? I think 5 years, guys. I don't think coaches should get longer than 5 years. I think you look at where you're at in year 5. Once you get to year 5, into year 5, you kind of know what you are. You know what you have. It's very unlikely that a head coach is a middling head coach for 5 years is just kind of average, maybe slightly above average. It's very unlikely that head coach turns into a superstar. Not in this day and age. Not with the portal, not with NIL. It just doesn't take that much time anymore. So I think Arkansas, now he's got to win some games down the stretch, but I think their best bet, lock in with Pittman for the rest of this season. Don't let it go completely off the rails. Go back out, though. Find an OC that's worth a damn. And then I think year 5. I think year 5 is when it'll be put up or shut up. It'll be scorching hot seat going into the season. Whether Pittman's got to win 7, he's got to win 8. Maybe he's got to win 9. I don't know. But I think you give him one more year. I think you more than likely you give him one more year. That is, unless things just go completely south the rest of the season. So, you think the Gamecocks fan base is reeling? Folks in Fayetteville are saying, hold my beer for the way things are going this year. To Tuscaloosa, guys, Alabama takes down Tennessee 34-20. It was looking like for a second Tennessee was going to make it back-to-back wins. Had a 20-7 lead at halftime. How about Bama, though? Outscores the Volunteers 27-0. 27-0 in the second half. Bama went on a 34-0 run in that game. So, you're seeing a lot of Tennessee fans saying, oh, it was the refs, and dude, SEC refs stink. We know that. But bro, you got outscored 34-0 from the second quarter on. Like Bama imposed their will. It was like Bama they flipped a switch, which we've seen Bama do before. I thought Joe Milton, guys, though, was solid in this game. 28-41, 271, 2 touchdowns. Jalen Milroe, one bad interception, but other than that was solid. Tennessee just not able to run the football, guys, like we thought they may be able to. That front 7 of Bama was fantastic. McClellan for Alabama was great as well. And, I think for Tennessee, guys, for their program, not the result they wanted, not the outcome, obviously, but I think if you look at where the program is under Josh Heupel, you knew going into Tuscaloosa it was going to be a really, really tall task, right? Really tall task. And I think the encouraging thing for Bama, again, that front 7, slowing down the run, also getting Jace McClellan going against a really, really good Tennessee front 7. I think that's what's encouraging. But this is a game kind of similar to how I looked at South Carolina going to Knoxville and saying, okay, like that's a revenge game. You're not going to win that football game. That's kind of how you had to look at this if you were Tennessee. Like revenge game. There's no way Bama was losing to Tennessee this season. Not after last year. Not after what happened. So, big win for the Crimson Tide. And again, the thing that stands out, outscoring Tennessee 34-0 to close out that ball game. Incredible. To the Plains we go. Ole Miss takes down Auburn. Final score of 28-21. Anytime you go on the road in the SEC and win, guys, especially when it's at Jordan-Hare, it's a great W, truly. Quinshon Judkins, fantastic in this game, 5.9 yards per carry. That's what Ole Miss needs to be at their best, 124 yards rushing for him. As a team, Ole Miss ran the football really, really well. Jackson Dart was efficient. Just 17 passing attempts, but 10 for 17, 202, a touchdown, and a pick. Auburn quarterbacks continue to struggle, 9 of 13 for 100 yards, a touchdown and a pick for Peyton Thorne. Robbie Ashford, 3 for 4, 22 yards, and an interception for him. And in the running game, I thought Jarquez Hunter was solid for them. 15 carries, 6.1 yards per carry, 91 yards, 2 touchdowns. Peyton Thorne using his legs as well as Robbie Ashford. But, Ole Miss, man, give Ole Miss credit. I mean, they're a good football team, dude. Ole Miss, I know they've still got Georgia on the schedule, but they're a real threat in the SEC West. This is a team we realistically could talk about going to Atlanta. Now, they got to go to Georgia. That's going to be a really, really tough game for them. But I thought Auburn showing a lot of grit, a lot of toughness, a lot of fight. The Plains is a really tough place to play. And again, there is no such thing as a bad road win in the SEC, especially when it comes on the Plains. So great job by Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. And guys, they're staring at a 10-win season. Ole Miss is realistically staring at a double-digit win season, and you just cannot say enough good things about what Lane Kiffin has done with that program. And guys, finally, LSU, a dominating 62-0 win over Army. And this one, guys, domination start to finish. It was 38-0 at halftime. The offensive fireworks, of course, Jaden Daniels was electric. Even Nussmeier came in, the backup quarterback, and did well. You look at the rushing statistics, bunch of different guys, Holly, Kane, Diggs. I think it was very obvious. But by the way, Thomas Jr. and Neighbors went for 122 and 121, respectively. 2 touchdowns apiece for those guys. LSU with just way too many weapons, guys, way too many athletes. And it now sets up the big-time matchup, of course, LSU with the bye week this weekend, LSU, Alabama, in just under 2 weeks. Cannot wait to watch that game between the Crimson Tide and the Bayou Bengals, a game that we all feel will most likely decide the SEC West.